Hey, this is Rob Lane of the Straight to Video podcast, and you are listening to Unlikely Places Pop and Rock Radio Show on Mad Wasp Radio.
I just want to get the music down so I could move on to new stuff because it's always coming out. And so that's how that happened.
Aloha, this is Jeff Cotton of Captain Beefhart and the Magic Band.
Hi, this is Terry Draper from Class 2.
Hey, this is Paul Chastain.
Hey, what's up? This is Thomas Ian Nicholas of Rookie of the Year, American Pie.
I'm Brendan O'Hare. I used to be in Teenage Fan Club.
Vic from Star Collector.
Dino Troy.
Owen Radford.
This is Josh Bradley.
Hey, this is Mason.
And Paul of CatScan.
Paul Collins of The Nerves.
I'm Frankie Siragusa, and you're tuning in to Unlikely Places Pop and Rock Radio Show with Vinyl Man Jeb.
Let's just have a chat down here.
You're listening to Mad Wasp Radio.
Hey everybody, this is your host, Vinyl Man Jev, Unlikely Places Pop and Rock Radio podcast show, radio show on Mad Wasp Radio, all these different things, but we are Unlikely Places. Now, this episode is a actual trip. This is Jeff Cotton of Captain Beefheart's Magic Band, the Exiles, and many more. We go through all of Jeff's career before talking about his brand new album. Thanks to Billy from Glass Onyon for setting this interview up. We're going to get right into it. Listen closely and learn something new. But I also want to announce real quick, we have a YouTube channel. It's Unlikely Places Radio. Everything will be down in the description below. We're on Anchor. That puts us on Spotify, Pocket Casts, anywhere where you get your podcast section. We're working on trying to get on Apple at the moment, so you'll have it everywhere, so you guys have more access to listening to it other than just YouTube. And then, what else do we got? Oh yeah, on Thursday nights, soon to possibly be Wednesday nights live, but on Thursday nights I do these rambling videos talking about what's been going on in my life and just enjoying sharing what I do for a living, which is talking. And so check it out. And if you need any voiceover work done or any jingles or any of that, contact us at press@robojackrecords.com. And that's it. That's enough that I can, we have merch too, but you guys are here for Jeff Cotton. So take it on, learn something new, listen closely, and do that. Hey everybody, this is your host, Vinyl Man Jib of the Unlikely Places Pop and Rock Radio podcast section. I'm here today with Jeff Cotton. Jeff, how are you?
I'm doing awesome, my friend Jeb. How are you?
Good. Excited to have you. As mentioned before we hit the record button, I'm a big Zappa fanatic and also love Beefheart. And to get to talk with one of the members is such an honor and legendary experience. Thank you, Billy from Glass Onyon, for setting this up. And thanks for everybody getting this all set up for us. It's amazing. We're going to get right into it. Okay. I'm going to ask the first question for you. I asked this of all my guests. Get on a common ground here. What got you into music, Jeff?
From my earliest years, my mother had been a performer and a singer. She had her own weekly radio program in somewhere in Alaska when she was in her early 20s, late teens. From the time I was about 5 years old, I remember her getting together with a girlfriend and singing. And I began singing harmony with them shortly after and just loved it. So I'm a young kid, right after kindergarten, first grade, second grade. So that was the beginning of it.
That's awesome. And then we're going to move into, what was the first instrument you learned? Was it always guitar, or was it, I see you got keyboards as well.
The first instrument lasted me, one school year, third grade, fourth grade, flutophone, a little plastic, little horn. So the next year, my grandmother, who I consider to be my angel on my mother's side, her mother, she bought me a LeBlanc clarinet, which is a very, very high-end, beautiful wood instrument, not resonite, an actual wood LeBlanc clarinet. So from the fourth grade on, I was gone. There was another guy in the class with me, close friend. We were both the valedictorians of the grade school, he and I, in all classes. And he played clarinet also that year. So we played duets. We ended up for several years playing programs and Christmas programs, Christmas music on clarinet. So I got my start with clarinet and reading music.
Oh, very cool. Because as much, usually people see a guitar, so like, they must have always played guitar. I always love to find the backbeat, like it wasn't just that, which is awesome. And we're going to get right
Yeah.
into asking about your bands and projects. I want to ask, was there any
Sure.
bands before Captain Beefheart's Magic Band that you were in?
Oh, yes. The Exiles, Exiles. We ended up we were all in the Mojave Desert, Lancaster, Zappa, most of the Magic Band members. And so I lived in the desert at that time.
Oh, wow.
Let's see, we moved there when I was early sophomore year in high school. And so the Exiles, we made our first record. I was 14 and a half. And it went to number 9 in the Valley. The next one did really well. We packed the small concert venues, 400, 500 people. So that was a great send-off for this little guy.
Every day I have to think about you, wondering where you've gone. They say you're gone and left me forever, never coming home. You know I cry and try not to miss you, though you don't love me at all. And one day soon you'll find out you miss me, but I won't hear your call, and you'll feel sorry for yourself. Sorry that you lost a good thing. Hey! Don't say you're leaving me for another man. That would be more than this broken heart could stand. And if you feel you want me back, I'll still be your man. Just drop a line wherever you're at, and I'll take you back. You won't feel sorry for yourself. Sorry that you lost a good thing. Sorry that you lost a good thing. Ooh, ah, ooh, ooh, ah, ooh, ah.
After the Exiles, there was, I had 2 groups. One was called the Intruders, and the other one was called the Illusions. Not illusions, but illusions,
Okay.
Allus. Then I joined a group called the Bounties.
Ooh.
They were all older than me. They were really a professional band. We had a sax player and 2 singers that could, we would do, back in those early days, we would do the Righteous Brothers, for instance.
Oh, okay.
And these 2 guys not only sounded identical, they were the same size.
Oh, wow.
One little guy and one tall guy. And I got to play, this is notable. I got to play with a drummer, the best drummer, one of the best drummers I have ever played with anywhere on the planet. And his name was John Parr.
Okay.
P-A-A-R. He was outrageous. We would go play, and that time, I'm a young guy, but we're playing out in Edwards Air Force Base, where the famous UFO thing is happening and all that.
Yeah.
The X-15, the X-1, the U-2. We would play the NCO club, the Non-Commissioned Officers Club. And I remember playing with John. I'd look back at him, and he would just do something outrageous. And it would just kick me off, man. And all of a sudden, I'd be doing my thing. We'd just be playing off of one another, exciting. The rest of the group's doing their thing, but we're hot.
That's
so
awesome.
that was so much fun. He was also a great jazz drummer as well as rock.
Oh, cool.
So that was,
yeah.
Now the Bounties did one record. I wasn't on the record, but they did one on Dot Records at the time called No Yo Ru. That's Chinese. That's an English way of saying something in Chinese. It's about the China night, what it was like at night. So they had some notoriety already. So after that, I don't know if you've heard of this band, Blues in a Bottle.
Okay.
Blues in a Bottle was our group. And you say our, it's sort of like the Magic Band where over a period of years, a lot of musicians came through.
Oh, okay.
And some of the most notable being the one particular incarnation of Blues in a Bottle was myself, John French.
Okay.
Bill Harkleroad and Mark Boston.
Oh, geez.
We had the Trout Mask lineup in Blues in a Bottle.
Oh, there you go.
And we were playing pretty cutting edge music. We did a few original tunes, which I had been writing.
Oh, wow.
Because I've been writing all of my years. But mostly we did covers, pretty advanced stuff for 66, I think it was, and 67. Yardbirds, anything we could get our hands on. We did some of the old stuff that Beefhart was doing too, a few of those. We always admired the Magic Band. We played numerous gigs with them.
Oh, wow.
In fact, we upstaged them, believe it or not, at one concert. It blew Don away. He was blown away. To the point that what he would do, and he would usually come up in front while we're playing. We're just going at it, man. And he'd come in front of each of us and he'd go, just study us really close. And I remember the first gig I did with him, we played with him. He came up to each of us. He came up to me and he said, hey, man, that was really, really good, man. You guys are really good. So he was scoping us out because the gears were turning in his head. And of course, the next year, he brings John French. So John French leaves as us. Now, John was not our drummer at the time. He was fronting us, vocal, harmonica.
Oh, okay.
We did a lot of different kinds of music, including some great Motown, because John had a great colored voice. And so John scoped him out first. And so we brought in, let's see, Don Deason was playing rhythm guitar. He took over drums. At one point, that's when Bill Harkleroad came in too. So that's interesting. The lineup for the Trout Mask sessions was literally Blues in a Bottle with the addition of Don Believe.
Oh, it's kind of like Neil Young when he did Mirror Ball with Pearl Jam. So it was like where they have Pearl Jam, the band, and then it's just Neil Young in front of them, which is awesome. And he always did that with Crazy Horse and stuff like that too. So that's
really cool.
Oh, it's awesome.
Right on.
What albums are you on for Captain Beefheart?
Okay, the three original albums are Mirror Man, which was the second out. The first one that came out, excuse me, was Strictly Personal. And then, of course, Trout Mask Replica. And those three have morphed, as you know, over the years. There's all kinds of different albums out there.
I wanted to definitely go into, and this is probably going to be bulk of the interview because it's such an album that is just history defining, and everybody wants to know a piece of what happened during those sessions. Let's talk about Trout Mask Replica. So let's, how did that session begin, and the way that was recorded? How was that for you?
Okay, by the time we got to Trout Mask, things had evolved. We had finally gotten, you see, John was pulled in. The next year, they pulled me in. Then we pulled in Bill Harkleroad, and then all of us pulled in Mark Boston. Obviously, we had to have the band. But by the time they got in the band, they noticed I wasn't the same guy that they'd played with for years. I was more nervous and stressed and maybe a little crazy.
I love it.
Yeah. So by the time they came in, it was getting really stressful. Don had become, because on, let me go back to Strictly Personal and Mirror Man. Those songs were recorded with Alex St. Clair on guitar, Jerry Handley on bass. These guys, particularly Alex, was Don's age. The rest of us in the Trout Mask sessions were 7 years younger.
Oh, wow.
So we're young guys. We're still wide open from substances and everything else previous. And here's a guy that's already got a real formed character, and he's pretty heavy anyway, always was, pretty opinionated and headstrong. So he now had the other guys out of the way, and he could have his way. And that's why Trout Mask was so different.
Oh, that makes sense, because it's just drastically different. I mean, as an album, we all know is how different it is. But yeah, definitely.
Right. Now, the reason it was different, too, is because it was transmitted to us, the music, in a totally different way.
Oh, wow.
The first two albums, we were the musicians, and Don would hum or whistle something, and Alex or I would pick up the riff, and we would play. That's how the songs were put together. So when so there was a little bit of latitude for our creativity. If we ever said that we wrote one note in a passage, it would be thrown out, and we would have been tongue lashed real bad, if not more. So there was no room for anyone else's creativity.
It was Don or the highway.
Other than playing the parts.
Oh, wow.
Now, thanks to John French, when it came to Trout Mask, by that time, what had happened, actually, first, John and I had gone to a music store just before we left for the first European tour. And John said, look up there. We saw a beautiful straight soprano saxophone, used horn. So we had very little money because the band hardly ever played. Don very seldom would make it to a gig. So we had very little money, but we put together what we both had. I think it was $200. And we bought him the soprano sax, brought it home to him. Now, this is before Trout Mask.
Okay.
Brought it home to him. The only 2 lessons he ever got on horn came from me because I was a horn player. I'd already been playing, different horns. So I gave him 2 quick lessons, either the next day or the following day. I'm not sure which. Can't really recall. We left for our first European tour.
one of them leaving. And the other one coming back. There goes my baby on that old train. I said, come back, baby, come back. Click, clack, click, clack.
Well, here's the deal. Trout Mask, from the time we started rehearsing, by that time, Don was bigger than life. Keep this in mind, too. The Trout Mask lineup being Blues in a Bottle, we had been friends, the four musicians, without Don, for a number of years. We'd played all kinds of music. We'd never had one misunderstanding or harsh word.
Wow.
Which is, and now when you take two guitar players like Bill Harkleroad and Jeff Cotton, take two lead guitar players, you'd think that there'd be some situations. None,
That's
never.
awesome.
We loved one another's, respected one another's playing, and that went for Mark and John as well. But so here you come to the Trout Mask sessions, which was almost 9 months, 8 or 9 months. By that time, there was so much fear in our windows, as Don would say, we couldn't talk to one another anymore. We couldn't have a civil conversation.
Wow.
Because of the fear that what we said would get back to Don. And then we would end up in an 8 or 9 hour bathroom session with the water turned on. He'd turn on the water so you could hear it. And then the bad guy for the day would be sitting here, and everybody would be pummeling him with anything verbal that they could. And Don would goad them on. So he was using a real powerful mind control situation on a bunch of young kids.
Jeez.
So we were living in what I would call abject tension and fear. I left once. And that time that I left, it was in the middle of the night. Man, I ran out of that house and ran for miles. And every time a car's lights would come along, here I am in a field running next to the road. I ditched myself because I knew that they'd be out looking for me. Oh. So later I talked to Bill and he says, yeah, Don sent me out in the car looking for you. And he was going, I was always hoping that whole time I'd never see you. But I was also hoping at the time that I could be in your position, getting out of this insane situation. So I made it to a place in Reseda, went into an old car in a gas station that nobody had been in it for a long time. I think it was a 57 Chevy. It's cold at night. I call my dad. He comes down from Lancaster, from the Mojave Desert, picks me up, takes me home.
Quietly the rain played down our last of ashes. Quietly the light played down on her lashes. She smiled and twisted, hideously looking back at what once was beautiful. Playing naturally, magically. Oh, her ragged hair was shining, red, white, and blue. All in all, the children screaming, why, surely, madam, you must be dreaming. You couldn't have done this if you knew what you were doing. Well, the goldfish in the bowl lay upside down, bloating. Full in the sky, and the plains were bleached with white skeletons. Various species grouped together according to their past beliefs. The only way they ever all got together was not in love, but shameful grief. It's not the way I'd like it to get together. That's not the kind of thoughts I'd like to keep. The rain played lightly down, down on the former heap. Oh, lady, look up in time. Oh, lady, look out of love. And you should have us all
Oh, you should have us fall.
I'm in the desert, and some sweet friends of mine, this really nice young lady, just a friend of mine, she takes me in because she knows this guy's he's been through it. He just needs a little space. She rented a house for us.
Oh, wow.
Went to work. She went to work in a place called Burmite. And that's where they make gunpowder.
Oh, okay.
So talking about a dangerous business.
Yeah.
She would work hard for her $1.25, $1.50 an hour and come home, pay the rent. That didn't last more than a few months because I did something at the time. I took LSD.
Ah.
You know what that is.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah. And the interesting thing is, see, now I was out of the magic band. I was beginning to have a life, starting to calm down. And I take acid. And all of a sudden, I have a vision. Don is standing right next to me in this vision. And he says, hey, man, look up there, man. So I look up, and there are thrones, beautiful thrones like a king would sit in.
Yeah.
Velvet thrones, beautiful purple velvet thrones. From where we are, angling up as high as you could see into the sky. Just innumerable thrones with all of these people, which I wasn't focusing on. And Don says, you see right up there? You see that empty one? That's yours.
Oh.
And I went, okay. So I come down from my acid trip the next day. I think it's Bill comes down in the car, Don's car, and he says, let's go. So I get in the car and I go back in the band again.
Oh, so you get
Couldn't
yourself
stay
back
away.
in. You couldn't get away. You could just did. He had control of you outside of it in another astral plane.
Exactly.
I love it.
Oh man, it was crazy.
Yeah.
So I go back. We're rehearsing. So you probably know at some point, Frank just wanted to come into our house, the Trout Mask house, and record the album. Now it's going to save him a lot of money. And Frank was a businessman.
Yes, big time. I remember hearing.
Yeah. So we started recording. Dick Kunk was there, engineering, and
oh wow,
that's why you hear him speaking about. Anyway, he speaks back and forth. So we have that trial, and Don tells John French to muffle his drums.
Oh.
He says, take cardboard, regular cardboard box, cut it and put it on each drum. Now, I don't know, as a drummer, you hit that, there's no bounce, hardly any sound, but that's the way Don wanted it.
Wow.
But to make a long story short, it didn't go too well. Don went, you know what? We want to go in the studio, Frank. Take us in the studio. So out of that session, though, came Pear Pie Bake One. You can hear outside a couple of young kids come up, and Don is talking to them outside while blowing horn in Hair Pie Bake One. By the way, later I hear one of those two young kids who he talked to outside in the bush. I was so impressed he learned to play guitar and was in the Magic Band later.
Wow.
Now, I believe that's true. Can't hold me 100%, but that's what I've heard a number of times. So anyway.
Where did you move here from?
Just from here.
Reseda?
Yeah.
She's nice. What do you think?
Sounds good.
It's a Bush recording. We're out recording with Bush. The name of the composition is Neon Meat Dream of an Octofish. No, it's Hair Pie.
So anyway, talking about those sessions, what they were like, the rehearsal for all those months was, because of all that tension and fear going on, us not being able to communicate one another verbally very much, we found our peace and our respite in playing and rehearsing the music.
Oh.
So as long as we're rehearsing the music, we're totally connected, because as you probably know, we may have a passage of 4 bars. Mark's in 7/4, I'm in 5/4, yeah. Bill's in who knows what 4, and John's doing what he's doing. Now you start this 4-bar passage. We have to start together and end together in different time signatures, but not only that, to make that 4 bars accurate in length, one person would have to play very slowly, the other person a little faster, everything. So we rehearsed so much that we could do that without even hardly thinking about it. But you can imagine when you're playing with somebody and pretty soon you start feeling they're at a different tempo, you get to the point where you feel where they're going to go and you come together perfectly. And that's how you do it. Now, so that was, for myself, that was a little respite from the insaneness that was going on. And likewise, what saved me is I was the scribe for the band.
Oh.
John would take down the music on the piano, because by the time we got to Trout Mask, we bought him a piano, and he would go tink, 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 tink. And then John would have to take that, write it out, keep going as long as John wanted to tinkle. And then later he would decide, well, maybe I'll give this to the bass, give this to Jeff, give this to Bill. So that's how that music was given. And that's another reason it's so different, because Don was not a musician, except he was an excellent harp player, harmonica.
Yes.
It's hard. I don't have any water on my harmonica.
You could dip it into that Coca-Cola.
Dip it into my Coca. I should dip myself in there for being fool enough to drink all those damn things.
Could you play something for us? Do you feel like it?
Sure. I'll play a short one. Get out your rulers. I'm going to play a short one. guess you want me to play some harmonica now, right?
Okay. I was just going to request that, actually. But...
Yeah. I'll play you a tune.
Okay.
You had a request. I know you did.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I did.
There you go. Well, that's all I could do because I was bent over in some kind of a weird butterfly lotus petal position with this phone sticking out of my lap in place of my, and trying to play the harmonica in it.
What key was that?
That was the key of skeleton key.
Now, because I was a scribe, when those lyrics were coming out for Trout Mask, sometimes it would take all night. So I'd go into his bedroom where he did all his stuff. Him and his girlfriend lived in there. And he'd come out occasionally, very seldom to rehearse with us, very seldom to play. In fact, by the time we go in the studio many times with the other albums, he didn't really know where to start singing and when not to sing. It was like that on the fly.
Oh, wow.
But at any rate, so say at 7 o'clock at night, he said, "Come on, man, let's go in. I got some stuff I want you to write out." So we'd be busy and I'd be writing it out and deciding what word to use because there's a number of words that sound the same, but the meaning's different. So I'm getting all this together. I'm writing it out. And then he would always want to hear it back.
Oh, wow.
Have me play it back. So I'd spend the whole night and it was fun because it was theater for me. I could actually put my feeling and emotion into it like I did on Pina and the Blimp. And also the middle of Ella Guru.
Yes. I love it.
Now here she come walking, looking like a zoo. Hi Ella Guru. She know all the colors that nature do. Hi Ella Guru. Hi yellow, hi red, hi blue, she blew. Hi Ella Guru. She do what she mean and she do what she do. Got something for me, got something for you. She shows something.
Right, just dig it.
That's right, the mascara snake, fast and bulbous. Tight also.
So can I give you a little more insight into that scribe business?
Oh, yes, please.
Hey, so sometimes it would be all night long. I wouldn't sleep. So at about 9 or 10 in the morning after doing all this scribing, I hear the other guys tuning up to rehearse. So I'm going, I haven't been to bed yet. So many times I'd be out there in a mid-state trying to learn the parts.
Oh, jeez.
Yeah. So John had to put up with that. Plus, John himself was so busy writing out the music and then giving us these little parts that he wouldn't have a chance to play drums. So the fact that we pulled it off was a miracle.
Wow.
But the neat thing is I was having so much fun, and I always got Don. I always knew, to me, what he was saying. I appreciated his lyrical content. He's a poet to me, one of my favorite poets. Although he gets a little graphic and stark at times, but he was really good.
Light floats down the river on a red raft of blood. Night blocks out the heaven like a big black shiny bug. It's hard, soft, shell shining, white in one spot well. It's hard place that I'm living, but I'm doing well. The white ice horse melted like a spot of silver well. Its mane went last, then disappeared the tail. My life ran through my veins, whistling hollow well. I froze in solid motion, well. I heard the ocean swarming body, well. I heard the beetle clicking, well. I sensed the thickest silent scream. Then I began to dream. My mind cracked like custard, ran red until it sealed, turned to wooden and rolled like a wheel, well. Thick black felled birds are flying with capes of solid chrome, with feathers of solid chrome, in beaks of solid bone, in bleached the air around them, white and cold, well, till it showed in pain. The hollow cane clicked like ever after. Its shadow vanished, shining silence, well.
Okay, so as we have heard, it wasn't acceptable doing the album in our house. So Frank takes us in the studio. He's the engineer and the producer, right? Wearing both hats. So we go in there, start playing. Of course, there's no vocal here. This is the instrumental, all the rest of it.
Oh, wow.
And took us 6 hours or 6.5 hours to do the entire double album. Most songs were first take, maybe second take. I don't remember any third takes on anything.
Wow.
We just knocked it out. In fact, it was so effortless that Frank falls asleep in the control room sitting down for a few minutes. And by the way, at that time, Moon Unit was almost a year old.
Oh, wow.
So somebody brings Moon into the control room, and we're looking at her, and he holds her up, and I go, "Hello, Moon. Hello, Moon." You'll hear that in which song would that be? That would have been probably an El Guru, I'd say.
Okay.
"Hello, Moon," because I'm actually saying hi to her.
Oh.
Now I never seen her since then, but she was a baby.
Oh, wow.
So we do that recording, and it was just snap, done. It took a few days I think maybe more for Don to do the vocal. I don't even remember when I went in. I must have gone in the next day to do the other vocals, because I have the distinction of being the only musician that's, as far as I know, that's ever been in the Magic Band allowed to sing lead.
Fast and bulbous.
That's it.
Okay, do it again.
I love that. I love those words.
Fast and bulbous.
That's right, the mascara snake. Fast and bulbous.
Bulbous also tapered.
Yeah, but you've got to wait until I say. Also, a tin teardrop.
Oh, Christ. Again, beginning. Fast and bulbous.
That's right, the mascara snake. Fast and bulbous. Also, a tin teardrop.
Bulbous also tapered.
That's right.
Pina, her little head clinking like a barrel of red velvet balls, full pass noise. Treats filled her eyes, turning them yellow like enamel-coated tacks. Soft like butter, hard not to pour. Out enjoying the sun while sitting on a turned-on waffle iron. Smoke billowing up from between her legs made me vomit beautifully and crush a chandelier. Fall on my stomach and view her from 1,000 different facets. Liquid red salt ran over crystals. I later band-aided the area side. Oh well, it was worth it. Pina, pleased but sore from sitting, chose to stub her toe and view the white bulbs horribly large in the red pockets. I'm tired of playing baby, she exclaimed, and out of a blue felt box let escape one yellow butterfly the same size. Its droppings were tiny green phosphorus worms that moved in tuck and rolls and clacked and whispered in their confinement. 3 little birds scotch taped windows several yards away, mouths open to tongues that vibrated and lost saliva. Pina exclaimed, "That's raspberries!"
So we're going to move in now. I really definitely want to talk about your brand new debut to solo work and your new album, which is Fantasy of Reality, correct? The Fantasy of Reality?
Correct.
So let's get into that. How did that come about? What made you want to finally get into doing a solo album?
Well, I didn't really think about doing a solo album, but I've been writing ever since I was 13 actually. And all the years that I was out of the music business, I wasn't out of music.
Mm-hmm.
I was writing prolifically all those years. And in 2005, I began to record. I finally found what I thought would be the right sound, a warm sound, because the digital had come in. And at first, to me, it was kind of like a hospital, very sterile, not much feeling. So in 2005, I got my recording equipment, built my studio downstairs, and began writing and recording.
Wow.
So there are several songs on that album that date back to 2005.
Oh, wow.
And then, of course, 10, 12, 2020. So I moved back to Hawaii from the North Pacific Northwest, Washington, about 4.5 years ago. And about, what are we on? 2.5 years, 3 years ago, I met Andre. And Andre is an AV man. He's an engineer. He's done audio visual for many years. He did our videos, as you've probably seen, of the single "Does It Work for You?" Elvirus. So we began working together, and he took it to the next level, and so it could actually have some quality and be put out. And the reason it's a solo album is because I didn't have a band. I just want to get the music down so I could move on to new stuff, because it's always coming out. And so that's how that happened.
what we see, is it reality? Or is it really fantasy? Can you see spirit of reality true in any matter? Spirit's time and space, fueling new resources. Responsibility, gifts of light. Spirit sources providing might. Let's agree, you and me, life's presence a present. Presence of spirit life, eternity, past, present, and future. Giving sunshine, rain, fresh air, all to bless. Freely giving his creation, love's living substance. Does it work for you? To give credit where credit is due. Does it work for you? Seeing life's blessings anew. Does it work?
As a solo album, and of course I'm playing all the instruments, all the guitars, bass. I used digital drums, but I did all the arrangement, the rolls and all that. I played the keyboards, all horns, which is bass, clarinet, soprano, straight, sax, harmonica. And in some of the songs, if you've heard the album, there are some 4-part harmonies here and there and things like that.
There is nothing to compare with your tender greetings, fair aloha. With morning rustling through the trees, your palms sway gentle breeze, aloha. Mountains, teeming meadows greeting all, but seeming to call your name, whispered voices and the showers proclaim. There is nothing to compare with your tender greeting, aloha. Miley lays and fresh bouquets, a tribute to today, aloha, aloha. Go innocence which once was there, and sacrifice to share, aloha. Aloha, calling on all those who will be true. Fear not what they can't see, and believing to be set free. There is perfect liberty for those who want to live in aloha.
to Mad Wasp Radio, so don't forget where you are. Don't change that dial, you don't need to anyway.
Year he. You ever dreamed of a quest? Yeah! Alright, how about a personal life experience quest? Come on now, get your goals done and not be overwhelmed as you blend science fiction, fantasy, and more with the Hero's Journal. Seriously, I'm always told to journal, and this just made it 50 times easier, and majorly fun too. You can use this code, UnlikelyPlaces10, at checkout for a 10% discount on your next order at theheroesjournal.co. Yeah!